No, we
Started
don't
on
do
its
that.
own. Oh, somebody hit the button.
Oh, my bad.
That's okay.
It's because you're working on a PC, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
For those of you that have just joined us, we'll get started in a moment. We're just getting the video set up.
My bad.
Yeah, so when you share, Jeremiah, at the bottom left, there should be 2 buttons to click.
Yep. It says stop and stop or start and start.
Yeah, one of them should say about optimizing.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, welcome to one of today's Tiger Alumni Week webinars, Creative Entrepreneurship, Elevating Impact with Media. I am William Snyder, Professor and Interim Program Director of Advertising in the School of Photographic Arts and Sciences. I will be your moderator tonight. And before I introduce our speaker, there are a few housekeeping points I want to go over before we do anything. All attendees have joined in the mute mode. However, your questions can be entered in the Q&A box at any time throughout the discussion, and please do that. We will make every effort to address all your comments and questions throughout the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and will be made available in the upcoming weeks, and a communication with how to access the recordings will be sent out and posted on our website. If you have any technical questions about that, please feel free to type those into the chat box as well, and we'll do our best to get you the appropriate answer. We'd also like to thank our premier sponsor, Sharp Notions, as well as our Tiger sponsor, Rochester Regional Health, for helping make this week's programming possible. We also would like to thank our access service teams for helping us make this webinar accessible to all of our alumni. Real-time captioning is available within the webinar, and our interpreters will be spotlighted during the presentation. I want to let you know how grateful we are to all members of the RIT family who made a gift yesterday on Roar Day. Thank you very much. Those gifts have a direct and immediate impact on our students. And if you haven't made a gift yet, there's still time. By visiting rit.edu/roar, your gift will still be counted towards the Roar Day totals. Now, let's move on to our session. We are pleased to welcome Jeremiah Gryczka, who will present on creative entrepreneurship. Jeremiah is a creative entrepreneur from Syracuse, New York. After years of shooting extreme sports events, he started a wedding photography and videography business at 17. Hate kids like that. And became fully self-employed at 19. Coming to RIT, his business grew and developed in what is now Mountain House Media, a professional production company. They now work with RIT, Rochester Regional Health, Young Presidents Organization, Heritage Christian Services, and High Probability Advisors, among other notable clients. And their work has been seen on Fox Business News Channel, the Science Channel, National Geographic, and True TV. Jeremiah is also the CMO of Winx RX, a healthcare technology startup in Rochester. Jeremiah, thank you for joining us. So let's roll your video that you've created, and that'll be followed by a Q&A.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to play. Here we go.
Great.
My name is Jeremiah Gryczka. I'm a School of Individualized Studies 2019 alum and the founder and CEO of Mountain House Media. I never expected to become a business owner or an entrepreneur. When I was growing up, I thought I was going to be an engineer. And I often get the question, how did you learn how to do all this? Throughout high school, I maintained 3 jobs, which in hindsight set the foundations of the skills that have helped me succeed today. As an avid lifelong skier, my first job was a no-brainer. It had to be on the ski mountain. I picked up a job at my home mountain managing a team of employees that set up racetracks. And I then got a second job at the ski company Syracuse, where I learned that I had a knack for sales and I actually enjoyed doing sales. The earliest origins of what would become Mountain House Media began because of these jobs. Initially, I would just film my friends skiing or longboarding around the neighborhood. And this quickly developed into filming event coverage for events throughout New York State and Massachusetts. I used to film all day on these at these events and or for multiple days, and take the footage home, edit it as quickly as possible, and release it to YouTube, typically within 24 hours of the event. I garnered a lot of attention and gained corporate sponsorships of several small skiing and skateboarding clothing brands. brands that were in the kind of same stage I was, where they wanted to grow and they needed media of some sort to do that. And I was, a 14, 15-year-old just looking for some free swag or for some gear. So I would trade their logo in the opening of all my videos for free swag and free gear. And that made me really happy at the time because I didn't really care. I was just out there to have fun and to shoot videos with my friends. And it was kind of more about the experience than the work. Early on, the media that I created for these brands was nothing very complex, and it really just involved me putting their logo on the front end of any of the video that I wanted to create. So it was very self-directed. However, they got a lot of views on those videos. Some of my event videos would get in between 5,000 and 10,000 views and would be shared to a lot of networks with larger audiences.
Tonight, baby, you should come with me. I'll take you to the dark side. Me and you and me, do bad things in the nighttime. Baby, you should come with me, and we can kill a light. Hit the light, let it black out, hit the light, let it black out, black out. Everything black.
Creating videos from the beginning was really about having fun and doing what I like to do. However, down the road, I realized that I could make a lot more money and I could actually support myself by creating videos. And one of the ways that I found out how to do that was by filming weddings. And the first wedding that I ever filmed was from Craigslist. I had found an ad that somebody wanted a student to film their wedding for $100. And in hindsight, $100 was absolutely nothing. But I was 17 at the time, and it sounded great. And I had a T3i, and I could go out with my little tripod, and I filmed it, had a good time, and I came back, and they loved the product that I produced. As time went on, I realized how to monetize weddings, and that I could actually charge between $2,000 and $3,000 for a wedding. And it really didn't start out as me charging $2,000 to $3,000. I worked my way up to there. I started doing a wedding for $800, and $1,200, and $1,500, and I worked up to the point where I was making $2,000 to $3,000 per wedding. And 5 years later, after that, I've now filmed over 100 weddings. When I was in my senior year of high school, my friend Kevin Blanchfield approached me and he asked me if I wanted to participate in a haunted house that he had been building a haunted house every year with his brother for the past 10 years or so. And this last year was where he was going to step it up. His parents helped us out, and we ended up getting this 7,000 square foot space in an abandoned section of a mall. And we ended up operating a haunted house with 2 attractions out of this space. Kevin was the main creative for the Forbidden Realm, and he was really the mastermind behind this whole thing. It was really cool because I got to come in and be the executionary type person, where I got to help produce the marketing that went around it. I got to build, I got to manage the actors, and I ended up putting around 400 volunteer hours throughout the course of my senior year in high school. All of the profits from the haunted house ended up going to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Central New York. And this gave me an experience working with nonprofits very early on, which I saw the benefit and the reward of working with nonprofits. And it really helped steer me to where we are now, because part of the main segment of clients that we work with are nonprofits. When I started looking for colleges, I went on 3 college tours, and RIT was the second college tour that I went on. And after visiting RIT, I said, this is where I want to go. So originally I was going to come to RIT for engineering, and then I ended up coming for a college and careers day where you get to take a class essentially in each kind of major that you had interest in. And I ended up, just for the whim of it, to take a class that was in a section called Motion Picture Science. And when I went into there, I sat down, and the professor, Ricky, started talking about some of the things that we learn about in this program and how it's the technical intersection between film production and imaging science. And it still had concepts of engineering in it, and I really enjoyed it, and it really clicked with me. So I came to a point in my education at RIT in my original program, Motion Picture Science, where I couldn't get through the math requirements in the program. And I was kind of left with the choice of, I could either drop out and pursue doing either weddings or other corporate video full time, or I could stick it out and do another 2 years at RIT, either in my original program or in a different program. And I really had no direction as to what other program I would go to at that time. And that's kind of where I was left with this hard choice of, I don't really want to just go and do film production in the BFA program, because I could just essentially be doing the same thing in real world experience. And there wasn't much that it was offering me on top of that. So after consulting my professor at the time, David Long, he pointed me in the direction of the School of Individualized Studies. And what was really special about the School of Individualized Studies was that I could pick and choose programs and courses that I wanted to take, and it didn't have to be from one college or from one program. I ended up taking courses in the business school, in the marketing, advertising, photography, film, and I got to experience pretty much every school that RIT offers. So once I transferred into the School of Individualized Studies, my education and my business started working hand in hand. And why that's special is because I got to take a class and apply that knowledge actively to my business at that time. So for instance, when I needed to redo my contracts, I took a business law class. When I needed to learn more about accounting and how to be more efficient in that side of things, I took an accounting class. I bettered my film production by taking more advanced lighting and cinematography courses. I expanded my knowledge by going into marketing and advertising. So my business basically became a lab for my classes. Being at RIT was crucial for my experience because of three things. And that would be the connections that we make between student, staff, and alumni, the reputation that RIT has or for being an RIT student, and the programs that they offer to support what you're looking to do. The cost of college alone is so high, but the connections that you make it well worth it. As I was wrapping up my 4th year at RIT, I had been identified for the Gap Year program, which is a program where they give you funding and mentorship and a year off of school so that you can focus on your business and work on that. However, I was headed out of RIT at that time, so I extended my stay at RIT until August of 2019 instead of the spring of 2019, and was able to use that summer as my technical gap year. In partnership with Magic Spell Studios, Magic Spell gave us facilities in the Collaborative Partner Suite, access to their production equipment as well as their sound stage, which allowed us to produce a commercial for Mountain House. Overall, the entire experience gave us funding, stability, facilities, and the opportunity to really work on the business itself rather than just trying to produce client work every single day so that we can make revenue. RIT has also invested heavily into the film industry, with Magic Spell Studios functioning as the region's major draw for industry professionals. And Mountain House Media, being positioned as one of the companies in the Collaborative Partner Suite, has put us on the forefront of any opportunities that are presented by clients and agencies coming into the area. The Gap Year, in addition to everything that it gave us, it also connected us with like-minded people and entrepreneurs that are students like myself trying to build something while they're still in college or just getting out of college. Through that, I met Amanda Zaremski, who is the CEO of Winutrix, a healthcare technology startup based in Rochester, and I now serve as the CMO or a chief marketing officer for them. One of the most important things that I learned while I was at RIT was that if I was going to employ myself and other people full-time while going through college, any project that I needed to work on had to be worth my time, and my time was very valuable. So if I was working with a client that did not value my time or the products that I was producing, it wasn't worth it. Specifically in the creative industry, there's pressure to drop your price and to work for free or work for exposure or reference. And for us, when we were growing, that was not possible. We couldn't work for free because we didn't have the additional time because we were both serving clients and doing college at the same time. You have to make sure that when you're working with a client, that client is the right fit for you. And if they're not the right fit for you, if they don't value your time, if they don't value your product, if they don't trust you, you have to be able and willing to give up some projects, because ultimately it will dilute and degrade the quality of the final product, and you're just not going to be happy with it. And one of the main reasons I was able to become self-employed by 19 was that I knew the value of the work that I did and what I could charge for it. And if I didn't charge those numbers, I was not able to dedicate myself to this full time. Clients' perceptions of young entrepreneurs tend to lean in one of two directions. Either they see your fresh mindset and ingenuity as an asset, or they're distrustful of your youth and inexperience. To overcome the perception of a young entrepreneur, you need to speak the language of your client, carry yourself professionally, and always, always, always underpromise and overdeliver. If you do these three things, clients would be more than happy to pay you fairly and give you a glowing reference at the end of the day. The main point behind this is that when you're a creative and you're growing and you're starting to build your own business, is that you typically don't think about things like your market or who you're selling to or how you're selling to these people or pandemics for that instance, because when you're doing this because you like to make media, you like to be an illustrator, you like to be a photographer. It's not because you're trying to go out and make millions at the beginning. And you don't think about some of these things. So things like your market and your geography and the industries that are around you can heavily affect the projects that you're working on. And for instance, when we were doing weddings, Rochester, New York, Syracuse, New York, they all have very, very cold winters. And that left us with only a certain finite amount of weeks and weekends that we could film weddings in. And as a couple people in a small company, we could only film so many weddings, especially if they're on the same day. So being able to shift the market that you're serving to meet new goals and to meet new revenue goals is important, because when we were working with weddings specifically, we could do 30 weddings in a year, multiply that by $3,000, and you get your revenue figures minus your expenses. Whereas with commercial projects and corporate projects, there's really no cap on that because there's industry all around us. There's two ways to grow your business, and that is offering new services to existing clients or offering existing services to new clients. Eventually, when weddings were not offering the same growth potential as other commercial projects, we shifted the focus to working with corporations and nonprofits, creating video and photo content for fundraising, marketing, and recruiting. As we transitioned away from weddings and started to work more with nonprofits, I realized that in nonprofit fundraising, storytelling is the quintessential piece of fundraising. You need to tell a story about how these nonprofits are making a difference in their community and around the world. Using video, we've helped our clients to raise millions of dollars through social media campaigns, in-person events, and digital fundraisers. The last few months have been a great example as to why you need to be able to change and adapt in the face of adversity. And we've really focused on shifting some of our existing services to post-production so that we can still serve our clients even though we might have been working remotely, or we've been using smaller crews on set to limit exposure and things like that. And in addition to that, we've also helped our clients in adapting their communication so they can keep in touch with their existing consumer and customers. This January will mark 4 years since the beginning of Mountain House Media. Today, we're a strategic alliance partner with the Young Presidents Organization, and we create media for clients such as RIT, Heritage Christian Services, Rochester Regional Health, the Young Presidents Organization, and High Probability Advisors, among many other notable clients. Our work has also been seen on Fox Business Network, Science Channel, National Geographic, and True TV.
In my toes and in my shoulders, I've been shaking like I'm colder. In my head, in my eyes, feels like I'm never getting enough. Got my heart on my sleeve, got the fire to set me free. I'm gon' show this kind of night. And it feels so good. You're by my side, I think you know you would. And it feels so free, and it feels so good. You're by my side, I think you know you would. And my hips and my fingers catch me dancing on the ceiling.
was great. That was great, Jeremiah. So, ladies and gentlemen out there, do you have any questions for Jeremiah? If you do, please put them in the chat, and we will answer. He will answer them. While we're waiting for someone, I'll ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Jeremiah, so look, I'm assuming that most people that are out there don't understand a lot about media and sort of the worth. So they're probably got backgrounds in engineering or whatever. So how come it costs $3,000 for me to hire you to do a wedding? What's the value there? How do you set that value?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that you're supposed to look at while you're starting to price yourself, especially when it comes to the areas that you're in. And when I was starting out, I looked a lot at what my competitors were pricing things out at and what I thought the quality that I was bringing to those wedding clients, or for instance, commercial clients for that instance. What value am I bringing to them, and what am I offering above the market rate, if you will? And, sometimes you have to go and be a little bit, you put yourself out there and say, I'm worth $2,000 or $3,000 for that day because of the product I create. Like I said in the video, if people don't value that, it might not be the right project for you. And so in the end of the whole process, when you're booking a client, it kind of actually weeds out some of the people that you might not want to work with throughout the day. In addition to, looking at your market, there's things like the equipment we have, the going to college and the training that we have, the media storage, things like that kind of all, you have to bundle these into how you sell yourself. You're on mute, William.
I've got one question, if you can answer rather quickly. It's from Christine. How do you balance your personal interest versus the need to learn the business? You got 60 seconds. Okay,
all right. So personal interest versus the need to learn the business. I use a lot of my personal interest as opportunity to learn new things. So for instance, when I was starting out with skiing, I really spent my time making videos for my friends. And that was about taking that media back and learning how to film in environments like out in the snow and things like that, which is not the easiest thing to do. And then bringing that back into the editing suite, and how do you put together a video that's entertaining to people that can garner views on YouTube and become semi-viral, if you will. So it really comes down to using your personal interest as an opportunity to kind of invest in the business itself, for me at least.
So you're doing what you love to do. So that's the advice for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's the gist of it, is like, I do what I like to do. I like to be a DP and go out and shoot commercials. I like to edit. I like to be involved with clients and see how we can help them and do fundraising and things like that. So it's really, it's about doing what you love.
Okay, well, great. Well, listen, we've run out of time. It went by very quickly. So thank you, Jeremiah, for sharing your expertise with our alumni and friends this evening. And thank you folks at home for joining us. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to send out information on how to access this recording in the near future. And lastly, if you're not already connected to the RIT Alumni Association social channels, we encourage you to do so. Those links will now be found in the chat box. So go in there, join us, and go Tigers. Thank you again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the Tiger Alumni Week.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, and thanks everybody else. Have a good night.